I got another hole in the sole of my 16-year-old Cowboy boots. These are my Boulay 7031s, my first Cowboy boot ever. These have been resoled 6 times, and I got another hole in the sole here. The last time I got these resoled, the cobbler said that I would probably need a new welt on here to hold on the next resole. So it's gonna be in dangerous territory here because these boots might be done. But I'm gonna send them to Thomas Barrett at Siller Boot and Shoe, and he's gonna open them up. He's gonna see if he can put a new welt on here, and if he can, he'll tell us that process and if it will be worth it for your boots to be re-welted. Whew. This is a nerve-wracking one because these boots might need to be retired by the end of this video if it doesn't work out. Let's package these up and send them to Tom at Siller Boot and Shoe and see what happens. Thomas saved the boots. He saved the Boulay boots, and I'm super grateful. How's it going, Thomas? Let's talk re-welting boots today.
Let's do it.
How do you know when your boots need to have a new welt on there?
You know, sometimes it's really easy to tell. Other times you don't really know until you get into it. The welts that came on those boots look to be cracked, and they look to be sewn through multiple times. And those are both pretty good indicators that it should probably be replaced. And then, of course, when I was taking them apart, as I was pulling on the welt to cut the inseam and remove the welt, it was so brittle, the welt was breaking in my hand as I was just pulling on it. And so that certainly is a 100% indicator that they need to be replaced. So visually, just looking at it, I think a lot of information can come out of just an inspection, but sometimes you don't know until you're actually pulling the sole off. You think the welt's in good shape. Maybe there's some dirt or debris, or some of the boot conditioner that was used picked up some color changes as well as dirt and debris, and you just don't know until you're taking the boot apart. But I think if somebody is looking at a welt with a discerning eye, if it looks and feels brittle, if there's cracking in it, those are some pretty good indicators that it should be replaced.
My next question is, can all boots be re-welted?
If they were a welted boot and they were designed for it, in theory, yes. A Goodyear welt, certainly, because that is an additional piece of leather that is sewn onto the boot with the inseam. But if we're talking about a turnout welt, or stitch down is a very popular term to be used now, which is essentially the same as a turnout. The welt itself is part of the vamp. It's part of the upper. It's not a separate piece of leather. And so if that gets brittle and cracks or is ripped, you have to repair the vamp to re-welt the boot in the spirit of re-welting. But if we're talking about Goodyear welted boots, as long as the other components of the boot, such as the vamp and either the channel or the gimming is still in good shape, yeah, it should be able to be re-welted pretty easily.
Western boots do have a Goodyear welt. So in the case of Cowboy boots, if they do have a Goodyear welt and they're not mainly a cement construction, chances are you can get a new welt on here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The re-welting process seems really difficult. And I did it I put on a welt on these boots when I was at boot school at Schwartz Custom Boot. And it's kind of a very manually laborious process. It's very tiring. You had to wear those gloves. You had to do it all by hand. And I could imagine that results in a higher repair cost. Is it always worth getting boots repaired with a new welt?
So everything you just said is absolutely accurate. There are welting machines out there. As far as I'm aware, those are really only compatible with boots that have gimming versus boots that have a traditional leather insole that has been channeled. So if we're talking about good, high-quality boots, we're talking about hand welting. We're not talking about using a machine. And it does add substantial time and cost. In my mind, I like people to get the best value for their money. And so when I look at a welt and try and decide whether or not it should be replaced, it's with the idea in mind. If we don't replace the welt, will you still get the full value out of the resole? And so I tend to err on the side of let's reuse the welt if it's in good shape. And I've never had any issues with that. I think if you want the best aesthetic end result, replacing the welt at the time of a resole is definitely going to get you that. But that would come at a pretty high price to re-welt every time you resoled. I would say that, you could reuse a welt up to 3 times, no issue. I've seen that plenty of times. I've resoled boots for guys 3-4 times using the same welt. But a lot of it comes down to the use they're putting that boot through between the very isolated periods of time that I get to see it. But yeah, 2-3 soles on a single welt, I think is totally acceptable.
Yeah, and these ones had 6, so they were definitely overdue. Yours was the 7th resole, very much overdue here. And since they were my first pair of boots, these do have sort of an emotional connection, so it would be worth it to me to have a new welt on here. So I guess that's something to think about for viewers as well. How emotionally connected are you to your boots? Is it worth getting a re-welt and a resole, or maybe just retiring those boots altogether? Because these are definitely on the verge of retiring.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people who have a sentimental connection to the items they bring in here, and that can change the whole approach to the repair, its intended use. I've had guys bring in their grandfather's boots and they wanted them resoled and re-welted and had no intention to ever wear them again. They just wanted them as kind of a memento or an item to remember their grandfather by. So yeah, when it comes to having a sentimental connection to something, that can really change the whole game in terms of cost consideration. But yeah, I start out with, are you going to get the value out of this, and go from there.
Great. Well, thank you, Thomas. I love that I'm able to put these boots through a lot more wear, and definitely pushing off the retirement of those boots. So thank you so much for the re-welt and the resole. Can you tell people how to get a hold of you if they need their boots re-welted and resoled?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have social media on Instagram and on Facebook. You can look up Siller's Boot and Shoe Repair. Both should come right up. I am in Great Falls, Montana. Phone number is 406-452-1415. You can reach out to me, phone, social media, email, and of course, email's available on social media. So just however it is most convenient for you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Thomas. And I really appreciate your work on these boots.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sometimes our boots need re-welting so those soles stay on tight. What do you need new boots for when your old ones fit just right? Thank you so much for watching today. Why don't you check out this other video I did with Siller Boot and Shoe about some half soles. Or I got a music video down here I think you might enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace. Have a good one.